What is up, everybody? Welcome to Omnic Lab 191. This week, we are the strategy podcast for you. We're talking all about Overwatch, everything and anything that we can think of to help you improve in the game, just like we are trying to do the best we can. And my name is Rob. Joining me, as always, is Andres Gomez. What's up, Andres?
What's up? What's up? Yeah, new week. Excited to be here. I think that lately my time has been spent a lot in games like Valorant, but in playing those games, I have realized a lot of things about Overwatch that I'm being able to apply backwards into the game. And today I wanted to talk about one of those topics. We're going back to the classics and talking about some basic strategy that can really boost you in your average games.
The strategy today that we're going to be talking about is called following up with your time to kill a target. And this thing has been one of, if not the most popular thing to talk about when we are doing our coaching sessions with individuals. And we wanted to bring this into a little bit more of a topic that we can discuss together rather than with the coachee. Andres and I can kind of riff off this a bit more. And we're also going to talk about this massive update with crowd control that we talked about from the experimental card has now hit the live servers. In addition, hero pools as of May 4th are gone unless you are in Masters and Grandmasters play. So let's get into some quick updates here for the info for the month of May. And then we will kick it over to talking about these changes. So first and foremost, Cypher is doing the mid-May mash for the game night. So mid-May game night with Cypher. This will be on May 15th, the middle of May, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. And I did not get UTC or GMT codes for this, sorry, but this is Pacific Daylight and Eastern Daylight Time currently in the States. So if you're curious, 4 p.m. Pacific Daylight, 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight is their estimated start time. If you want to go hang out, you can. Next game night for us is always normal. The game night every month is the last Friday of the month. This is going to be May 29th, the very, very last one. Pretty close to the end of the month. And we still offer our coaching sessions for $250, which is the $250 is the platinum level on our Patreon. And last in the info and the little housekeeping is that Cypher is not only running the mid-May mash for the game night, but she is donating her 2 coaching sessions at the diamond level to first come, first serve people that can contact her in Discord. So if you want a free coaching session, she's donating them to anyone that can log into there and set up a quick message with Cypher. And I'm not going to give out her information so that you come. She said that she wanted to bring more people in for her game nights, for our game nights. So just join the Discord, try to track her down and send her a DM. You'll see her in the Patreon section of our little members. They're in this light purple for diamond, and you can get them there. And also at the end of the info, thank you to Sinful Scumbag for also giving us a Twitch Prime sub. Appreciate that. I play. What do you think about game night for mid-month? I think I might even try to make it this time.
Yeah, I think that is super awesome that you guys or people in our community have taken it upon themselves to do game night. We've been doing it for about 2.5 years now, once a month, and it's always been very successful. I don't think there's been a month that we haven't had a game night yet, and it always gets at least one jam-packed lobby in there, sometimes several of them. So I'm really happy that you guys have taken it upon yourselves to do this. Shout out to Cypher. She's putting a ton of work for this. But honestly, everyone in this community is so awesome that those game nights sometimes just run themselves. Everyone knows to behave. Everyone kind of knows the drill. Everyone's very quick to embrace new people and sort of let them know what's going on and how they're normally run. So it's super awesome that this is community driven, and I mean we encourage this stuff, right? That's the whole point of having an Overwatch community in the first place, so
Yeah.
we can all hang out, get to know each other, improve each other's gameplay,
Mm.
and yeah, it just makes it that much more fun to play the game.
The best thing about the game night is that it's relatively manageable for us to keep running. And then we've gotten it to a point where if we just say it's on this day and it's always there and it's always in this cycle, eventually it gets to be a bit more of the hands-off approach like it's been for the last, I don't know, almost the last year since we've been doing it. Because we've been doing it for like 2-3 years now.
Yeah.
And it's just been so easy because we know even if we don't show up like right when it starts, people are logging in, and as long as the gates are open, as they say, then you can do it. And since the whole virus outbreak, we've just left them open so that people can jump in and run a game night if they want to. So yeah, we've just been leaving the game night channels open indefinitely until things calm down, but you guys can always join in when you like. As a quick thing, the live patch hit on the 29th for April. That's when you got all of the new changes for the CC abilities, the crowd controls for May. Anna, McCree, Reinhardt, Sigma have been lowered, and Roadhog got a big juice to his knockback. Getting that 20% bonus is that's going to be in all of your ranked games now, because hero pools are gone unless you're a Masters or Grandmasters player. So if you're curious as to when that hits, you must be 3,500 SR for achieving the Masters rank, and you must be 4,000 in order to get the Grandmasters rank. Those ranks will have the hero pools. And if you're curious about what constitutes them, I've put a link in the show notes. This went live on the 2nd was the post, but the hero pools went live on the following Monday, which is the 4th. And they're only using data from Overwatch League. So that's another really big, interesting thing about this. They're not using any data from the ranked ladder at all. I think that's going to do it for that.
Yeah, I think that these changes are finally coming in. Big response from Blizzard. They've been trying a lot of things lately. They did mention a couple months ago that they were going to be increasing the amount of experiments and ways that the game is approached. And I mean, props to them. They really have done it. They have tried hero pools. They have removed the hero pools at this point, but they give it a fair try. I think that this version that they have right now is much better, because hero pools really affect the top level the most. People that are playing constantly and are actually having a semblance of a meta. At the top ranks, you're playing a certain comp of heroes, or you might as well throwing at that point, because the enemy team is going to be running that set, right? And that it puts them at that much of an advantage. Hero pools keep that from being so static and spicing it up. But on the lower ranks, honestly, it was having the opposite effect. It was having this unintended side effect where people who were big fans of certain heroes were just choosing not to play the game for that week. If they didn't get to play their role or the hero that they were a fan of, that they wanted to practice, to them, it was more disheartening than anything else. And honestly, I've been there too. There's been weeks where all the hit scans are unavailable, and I can play a lot of other things, but I always like being able to have the option to like go hit scan, and that's where I feel the most comfortable. So those weeks have been rough, just like, oh man, I can't really play any of these heroes. I have to play the other one. So yeah, I
and if
like
you're playing with a 6-stack too, like we do, in the general sense, and you pick up these hero pool problems, this is a trickle down because it's for each role. So if you have a set composition that you're really good at, or a few compositions that you're good at, when hero pools came in, it's like you would sometimes remove being able to go, in our mind, being able to go a Pharah Mercy because you don't have Mercy and you don't want to play Pharah. So you essentially remove 2 heroes from the hero pool just from removing Mercy from the hero pool roster from the supports, for example. And I wanted to read this one paragraph of this post here talking about refining the algorithm. So let me just put this in play for you. This is from Scott Mercer on the forums as a part of this post. Refining algorithm. As a part of moving back to Overwatch League data, we're also looking to make some minor changes in the algorithm to lessen the chances of what would best be described as a hero rotation ping pong, where a hero gets rotated out every other week. While the current algorithm makes it so that heroes with higher usage rate percentages also see a higher chance of being rotated, that does not exacerbate the change of heroes repeatedly being removed. Also, highly played heroes the community really likes seeing played have the same chances of being rotated out as a highly played heroes that the community doesn't like. The goal is to create variance in the available heroes week to week, and that also means that there's a wide range of reactions from the community on each hero pool week. From the this is the comps we'll see in Overwatch this week should be super interesting to this week's hero pool is the worst. It all depends on which heroes you like to play and which ones you like to watch. So I agree a lot of this because we talked about this in the pre-show, Andres, about when we're coaching, especially. I've got I'll just use Tonka Truck as an example because I did a coaching session with him like not yesterday, but like I don't know, 12 hours ago. And he was telling me he's like really, really happy that hero pools are gone because every time we've tried to set up a coaching session, he's wanted to do something with Hanzo or Tracer or McCree or something, and all three of those, or sorry, not all three. Tracer hasn't, but Hanzo has been getting banned almost every other week the first 4 weeks, and he couldn't play it for 2 weeks to practice at all to prep for the coaching session. And also, he couldn't have prepped enough to have enough like questions that he wanted to pose, or he just didn't feel comfortable enough to even get coaching on it because he hadn't played it enough. And I kind of agree to this because a lot of people have a comfort pick that they just default to choosing in a pinch, right? You get in a high stress situation, you get killed, you're like, okay, I'm just gonna go comfort pick and we'll see how it goes. That happens in almost all of my games. Like I want to pick Hanzo, or I want to pick, Echo, or I want to pick Ash, whatever it is at that moment. And this helps a lot with just being able to play what you want for ladder because we're not professionals here.
Yeah, and I don't think that in a lot of the ranks there's enough of a semblance of a meta. You don't have organized teams picking the top tier ranks heroes all the time. So it's more awkward than anything. It's not solving the problem it was intending to solve at the majority of the level that people play, including the level that we play over here. So yeah, I think that summarizes our opinions on that. I think it's the right step.
It's great. Let's talk about following up and time to kill. This is a really, really great topic that we've been, again, most of the good topics that we keep coming up with are stuff that just is regular things that we're practicing or that we're coaching. And this happens to be one of them. Andres, do you want to introduce about following up here?
Yeah. So this is a concept that has been around in many team games, from FPSs to MOBAs. But the concept of following up is to basically play off of your teammates. You have to be paying attention to what they're doing. And if they're engaging in a fight, especially if that fight is close between your teammate and the enemy, it's very important that you follow up with that aggression or that play from your teammate, or whether it be defensive or aggressive, it doesn't matter. But it's very important that you follow up with whatever it is that they're doing, because after all, this is a team game, and in numbers, there's strength. I don't know if that's like the way you're supposed to say the saying goes, but
strength in numbers.
It's strength in numbers. Thank you, Rob. But it's that concept, right? If you don't play off of your teammates, what a lot of the times ends up happening is that maybe they don't get to close off that fight that they had. Maybe they die, and that effort that they put into it goes in vain or unpunished, right? And in Overwatch, this happens quite a lot of the time, where your teammates don't have all the information, right? So they don't know maybe who you're focusing in, who's low, but with just a little bit of awareness and a little bit of trying to pay attention to what they're doing and what's happening in team fight, you can play off of them quite a bit, right? This can be just shooting at the target that they're shooting. This can be throwing one of your cooldowns at the enemy that they're fighting, or throwing a cooldown at your ally, right? To protect them, to buy him time, to heal him, whatever that may be. Or finishing off a kill, right? Or playing off of one of their abilities. This concept is very common in Overwatch because comboing abilities has become such a commonplace thing. Everyone's doing it at the moment, but learning how to do that and doing it on a brim, right? Not just like set plays, for example, a graviton and a dragon, right? That's such a common play, but it's more nuanced than that, right? Like, what are your teammates doing with their abilities throughout the entire game?
This is the two sides of the same coin. Essentially, you have basically making opportunities, playmaking, setting up damage so that your team can follow up on it, or you can be looking for the opportunity and jumping on them when you see them. Some of this is a little bit harder when your aim is not there, or maybe you're playing a tank that is like Reinhardt, where you can't really follow up because they're too far away from you, or Winston, for example, and you don't have your jump. These are situations that may come across as being really difficult for you to follow up on. But following up doesn't just mean attacking somebody that's damaged, like Andres was saying. It's basically, if you could rephrase following up with looking at it from the idea of, this is called opportunity hunting, is kind of the way I've been talking about it when coaching, is you're basically like biding your time. And when we say poke damage, I don't know if a lot of you in the ladders understand what poke damage is, but poke damage is essentially when you're throwing out your abilities, your shots, your primary fires, your sticky bombs on Echo, your Junkrat grenades, whatever, and just spamming or poking at a distance in one little area until something hits. And then once you see something that hits, following up or opportunity hunting, it happens at that moment when you have to everyone move, or you flank, something like that, and create the opportunity, or jump on the opportunity. One of the two. They're the two sides of the opportunity hunting.
Yes. And this starts with a very sort of passive approach, or I don't want to say passive approach because you can be pretty aggressive when you're hunting for opportunities, but it comes down to information gathering, right? Which I think it's a concept that is very obvious to top tier teams. When you see it in Overwatch League, for example, they do this all the time. One, they want to know where the enemies are located, right? Where are the enemies holding? And what is the weak point of the location that they're holding, if there's any at the moment, right? Can we approach them from the side that is easier from us? Two, what is happening right now, right? So like during that information gathering phase, you're trying to see where you want to go to create the most opportunities for you, right? But in the middle of that information gathering phase, maybe your Winston notices, hey, that Widowmaker is really pushed up and is in the range of my jump, and she's kind of far away from the rest of her teammates, right? That seems like a good opportunity for me to jump her. Now, there's so many ways that the Widow can get away from the Winston. Sometimes the Winston might not even able to finish off the Widow by himself before she gets some help, right? Like a heal comes in and she gets saved. But if the rest of his team notices this, Winston might have the time to call it out. But honestly, if you're paying attention to what he's doing and you notice as he jumps the Widow, now there's a small window of opportunity where you can follow up in that play. Let's say you're Soldier 76. The second you see your Winston jump, you see he's jumping the Widow, you might just be like, shoot, I'm just going to throw my Helix rocket at her, right? If I hit her even for half of the damage of that Helix rocket, I'm already putting her in range of a kill, right? Maybe I can follow up with a few shots after my Helix. If I hit her with one, that could be enough to just like finish off that kill before she grapples away, before a heal comes in. You catch my drift in this situation. And there's so many of these little nuanced little plays that go on throughout the entire game that the more that you can play off of them, the more effective, the more sort of coordinated your team starts to seem.
And this is something that doesn't really come up as often, or this is something that you will basically directly see as a correlation with ranking up. The higher you get in the ladder, the more people are paying attention to this, or the more people are paying attention to ultimates and basically synergizing with each other, pretty much 1-to-1. And if you're playing at a lower rank, and I'm not even going to tell any rank is relatively low. I would say like outside of masters and grandmasters, because I feel like I'm relatively low in skill, even though we're kind of bouncing all over the place in our rank games lately. It doesn't really matter, but your biggest goal, if you're going in solo, I think if you're solo queuing, this is the most important thing, is just finding somebody to watch. And then this is kind of like how you can ease into the practice of this, is just following up and looking and seeing what one of the players on your team is doing, and just try to coordinate with them, not just with your speech, but just in how you play. So like if you see them, they're shooting this target, I'm just going to shoot that target. If that person is walking, I'm just going to walk with them. Or if I'm playing support, I'm going to have a little bit of a different approach, because you got to pay attention to everyone. But when so-and-so goes in, that's your cue. I'm going to go in with this person. It's usually being a tank. Or you can create an opportunity with them if you like. Big thanks to Shepard for the Twitch Prime. Thank you.
Thanks, Chef.
But yeah, that's what I like to try to do in our coaching sessions, because if you're new to this type of concept, or you're new to kind of trying to pay attention to more than just shooting people in your game and using your abilities properly, it can be a lot. And I really like telling the players, okay, don't worry about everything else. Just try to find that one person and kind of do the buddy system and see how it works out for you.
Yeah, that's a good way to start getting into like the gist of this concept. And to be honest, if you think about the game in general, you have to think about who are the initiators, right? Who are the people who are going to look for that opportunity first? Because not everyone in the game is going to be looking for that assault or initiation, right? If you're thinking about it from the attacker side, you just don't expect the Mercy to be the first one to go in guns blazing and try to like grab a kill, right? That it's more maybe of the job of either the tanks to come in and make some space first, so that their team can come in and maybe make some plays. Whether that be a Winston or a D.Va jumping somebody, or your Reinhardt sort of engaging the enemy Reinhardt to try to move him back. And there's such a big nuance in that battle. For example, if you are playing off of your Reinhardt and you notice the enemy Reinhardt, his shield is cracked, right? As a team, you can realize, hey, once the shield is cracked, that means he's at 50%, right? And maybe the enemy Reinhardt is pushed up a little bit to where, like, if the shield breaks now, he is in a very tough spot, right? And if your team can react to that cue, it's a visual cue that everyone can see. And as long as you're paying attention to what your Reinhardt is doing, where the front line is, you can react to this. We have Jay Lee in the chat, or All-Star Anna. He's really good at reacting at this type of cues, for example, where once the shield breaks, he'll immediately throw his nade in there, which gives a huge advantage to the front line, right? The nade before the shield breaks could be effective, right? It could land on the Rein, but the Reinhardt still has the shield, so he still has tools to defend himself. But a well-timed nade right after the shield breaks, man, that's a sealer right there. That's a deal seal.
Wow.
We got a lot
I got really distracted midway through there, because Shepard just gifted 5 subs to our channel. Thank you so much for the gifted subs there, Shepard. Really appreciate that.
Ayo, Chef coming in clutch.
I want to also bring up just kind of a side thing to this, Andres. If you're playing tank or DPS, and especially, following up could also be following up on yourself. Because this is something that came up with a player that was learning Echo twice in my last 2 coaching sessions, where you're looking at this damage that you are doing, and you're not kind of going aggressive, or you're not kind of shooting the targets that are damaged, if that makes sense, or you're not shooting the target that you just hit. A lot of times you'll have kind of this firing ADD when you're playing heroes like Echo, where you kind of just spam a spray of primary fires and sticky bombs and hope something hits. Or other times you hit a bunch of your sticky bombs, but you kind of still stay safe and try to finish them off instead of using your glide to kind of go down, hit them, and then use your glide cooldown to kind of burst back. It's this very in and out threading type of thing. You can't do that on all of the heroes, of course. But again, if you have this ability to follow up on yourself, the damage that you're doing, that's also a really big one. But that's something that most of us are trying to do. Whether or not we're doing that is a different story. But again, following up is not just on your allies' damage. It can sometimes be the opportunities that you happen to create.
Yeah, absolutely. Following up can also be following up on the enemy aggression. We've been talking a lot of following up with the initiator, which a lot of the time when you're on attack, that's true. On defense too, when you're trying to retake a point or take over a payload, you also have initiators. But when you're defending, for example, you need to be watching for what opportunities is the enemy team trying to look for and abuse, right? For example, in the concept of dive, if both teams are playing a dive composition, which was really popular last week, so this kind of example applies quite a bit. The Winston is going to be looking for picks and easy targets to dive on, right? If he's smart, he's going to find ways to land on them and start putting pressure on them. So as the team, you need to be looking for these dives, right? Like when is the Winston going to try to capitalize on something and try to like respond to that, right? So if he jumps on a target, you jump right at him. You put your shield on the target they are trying to dive to minimize any damage or any follow up that is coming. Your healers might be ready to react as well and be like, boom, your mercy's like, I got you right here. So it's sort of the same concept. And the more that you start looking for these plays and playing off of what other guys are doing and the opportunities they're creating, the faster you're going to be able to capitalize, and the game is going to feel like it has a natural flow, like it makes sense when to use certain abilities, right? Because when you don't play like this, you're basically like Rob was saying, just kind of firing crazy and just hoping that something is gonna die, which does happen in this game sometimes, but it doesn't have a rhyme or reason, right? You don't have much control over that. You're just kind of like leaving it up to destiny that a stray bullet or enough stray bullets are going to hit the same target at the same time and something's going to happen.
I think one of the best ways to really follow up on a situation is kind of, in my head, it seems like the easiest, but it's just watching what the enemies are doing in front of you. So if you can see an enemy, or if you're peeking and you're observing in these small little spaces of the game, look for what abilities are being used. So for example, if a Moira uses her Fade ability for whatever reason, you know that she doesn't have that for a set amount of time. That's your window of opportunity to follow up. Whether she's at 100 hit points or at like 20 hit points or full health, that's an opportunity window for you to follow up on. Sometimes the opportunities are just the fact that they don't have an ability and they're more vulnerable in that state than any other. And one of the biggest ones is when they're reloading or when they're standing out in the middle of nowhere and they have just used something. For example, if Azaria is currently reloading and disengaging from your fight as an enemy and just use their bubble, they have nothing. And even if they've got 400 hit points, she can die very, very easily, even with a healer on her. So the time to kill, or TTK, happens in most shooters is lowering. The lower time to kill, the faster targets die, and the lower resources that they have, their time to kill is going to be even faster or slower, if that makes sense. Lower the bar of your time to kill. The more healing they get, the longer they can survive, the longer the time to kill is.
Yeah, like that's a good point that you bring up there. And the higher in rank that you get, the more that you start encountering this. is that people start calling out what abilities the enemy team doesn't have or which abilities they just use. Because for the same reason that you just said, Rob, there are key abilities that allow you to outlast a lot of damage, right? Like Mora Fade, Reaper Fade, uh, Roadhog, Take a
Sorry, a bubble.
Breather, Zarya Bubble, Reinhardt
Reinhardt Barrier.
Shield. Any of these cooldowns really allow you to play rather aggressively because you can dodge a lot of key damage, right? If you're using them correctly. But once those are down, there's a small window of opportunity, like you said, where if enough damage comes in, they can't do much about it, right? As soon as Amora uses the fade, if you call it out and somebody is in a position to capitalize on that, it is generally safe to throw cooldowns at her or abilities at her because you know that she can't do anything about it at that current time, right? Throwing an Ananade at Amora that has fade, or trying to throw a sleep dart, for example, at Amora that has fade is rather risky because if she can react and just fade away, you just blew that cooldown and got zero value out of it, right? But if you know certain things are down, for example, Roadhog doesn't have Take a Breather. Hey, I can invest a ton of damage into this guy, and more than likely he will die, right? But if he has Take a Breather and I invest a ton of damage and abilities into him, and he just cancels all of it right away, then I'm in trouble, right? There's a brief window of time that I can't put that damage elsewhere where it could have been more effective. That Roadhog basically bought their team time and space by taking in all that damage and abilities himself and surviving, if that makes sense.
Mm. There's also another trap that a lot of folks will run into with following up is just that when the fight breaks out and it's a long extended fight, target prioritization can be very, very important with following up, knowing who to follow up on. When you have a bunch of targets that are just there, like Reinhardt swinging, there's no barriers left, everyone's just brawling. Those situations can be really hectic. And keeping us a level head on following up with who is being hit is also really helpful rather than shooting who's in front of you. This came up in my last coaching session where we basically just took the Overwatch viewer, we pulled the camera back, and we looked at the entire long 2 fights in a row from above to see what should have been getting shot. And it really helped the coachee figure out, okay, this person was very low. And I was like, okay, what we're going to do this fight is we're just going to watch the enemy team's Moira, and I'm going to track it with my mouse. We're going to see if she takes any damage, and if so, who's hitting her, and if anyone's hitting her. And the whole fight, you could watch the enemy team's Moira weave in and out in the middle of nowhere and not take any damage from anyone on his team. And I'm just like, well, that's why you lost the fight. You have the primary healer on the enemy team is just damaging and healing and generating ult from 30% to full in the whole fight, and you guys couldn't do anything about it because everyone's shooting this Roadhog. And the enemy team is also recognizing that, blocking for the Roadhog, peeling for the Roadhog, allowing him to take all this damage, and following up on the damage. So they did a much better coordinated effort of protecting their Roadhog and keeping him up than you guys did deleting the sources that were on him. Sometimes when you're shooting into something, you realize something else is behind them. You follow up by saying, I'm not going to stop shooting you. I'm going to shoot the thing that's helping them. That certainly can help.
And, in Overwatch, there are so many things that are competing for your attention all of the time. It's a shiny game. Everyone has cool abilities. I find that that happens a lot, especially with tanks. Tanks are so attractive to shoot at because, honestly, one, they're easy to shoot at. Two, they're in your face, usually kind of like taunting you and just ready to be shot at. And three, honestly, they're a valuable target. If you can get rid of them, you have a big advantage. But all that being said, they're made for that. They're made to be taking the damage, and a good tank will take a massive amount
Made
of
to
damage
be
and not
abused.
die. Yeah, not die. And if that is happening, he's doing his job. It's easy to ignore those harder to hit targets with sneakier cooldowns that don't like playing in the front line or like playing more in the shadows in the sidelines. you have to make a lot more effort to be shooting at those and getting abilities in those and paying attention to what they're doing as well. So it is something that you have to learn over time as you're learning the game of Overwatch. And I know a lot of people who've been playing this game for a long time have developed that, but it can be taken to like such great extent in this game because there's so much information that you can kind of like soak in.
You can really see how well you're following up by just jumping into support category as well. Because a lot of the stuff that has to do with support is nothing but allowing and enabling a teammate to do what they do best and killing stuff, right? Damage and tanks. Allowing the tanks to get in and deal damage, allowing your DPS to do more damage, or supporting them in their efforts. To use a quick example, Lucio, when you're running a Zarya and a Reinhardt, is pretty much necessary to allow them to move around the map at a quick rate. And then when they're going in, you're just shooting what they're shooting or shooting what the hammer's hitting, with Lucio in particular, and moving them around so that the Reinhardt can hit them, or moving them around so your Reinhardt can dodge damage. That's pretty much Lucio's job is Reinhardt's taxi and bodyguard, if you want to look at it that way. Mercy is kind of in a similar vein, but she's more of the damage dealing, not bodyguard, but more of like enabler. You're kind of just sticking with one or two targets and giving them damage. You can even help your people. Like the way I've been explaining this to some of my players that have been learning Mercy a bit more is to enable your allies mostly, and then looking at your ultimate split on how many people in your current situation have their ultimates not charged yet. Just damaging those people when they're able to deal damage can help them get their ultimate faster because they're dealing more damage, they're gaining more percentage. Boosting? Yes, damage boosting, in order to give them that ability. That certainly helps. For Ana, it's Ana's whole kit is built around the opportunity generation. You're basically waiting for your grenade or waiting for a moment to throw the grenade in order to make it a follow-up situation. When everything's purple, your teammates are like, warning, warning, everyone must die. Like pretty much when you see a purple, or everyone must run if you're purple. That's typical. Any rank of skill tier is just like, I can't heal. Like you got to run out. that's Ana in a nutshell. So
yeah, that can be such a powerful skill. One other part of following up that I wanted to bring up is not only playing off of abilities, but closing out fights. This is super important, and especially at the lower ranks, it sometimes doesn't happen. Make sure that once you have an advantage in the fight, you close it out. So make sure that you pay attention to any teammates that are pushing ahead, especially if there's no more threats on the point and you're for sure, you know for sure that that area has been cleared. Make sure you move up with your teammates, and any stragglers, right? Any healer that was left in the back, make sure you punish those, especially at the lower ranks. The enemy team likes hanging out really close to the point while waiting for the enemy to regroup. Take advantage of that. Push a little bit further and make sure that as a team, right, combine your forces because you have a numbers advantage. Make sure that you are finishing off all those kills because that really adds up at the end of the day, both on the clock, you burn a lot more time this way, and on your abilities too. You're gaining a ton of ultimate charge. You're getting, you're just basically advancing your economy forward.
Agreed. I think that's a huge thing. If you're in those ranks where you basically capture a point or you take over so that the enemy team has to run away from the point, one of the most common things that you'll see with your teammates is they'll either tell you don't push up or don't chase kills after the fight's over. And I don't understand that. Like, you need to wipe them out. You need to basically ace them by saying, none of you can live, and then we're going to sit on the cart. There's too many times that you'll see 3, 4, 5 of the teammates sitting on the cart or sitting on the point to cap it. If anything, 3 is the max. So you shouldn't ever have more than that.
That's one of the things that you should really be paying attention to. Like, for example, and it's always the Genji that moves forward and keeps trying to fight people. But pay attention to that Genji. If 4 of you are just standing still on the point capturing it, while the Genji is 1v1 fighting on just the other side of the wall, make sure that you go help that aggressive Genji, right? Like if he dies, then you're at a numbers disadvantage, which could be bad for a retake. But if he doesn't die and you help him kill that person that he's fighting, now it doesn't matter if the point takes just a little bit longer to cap, right? It's unlikely that the enemy team is gonna have the resources to push it anyway. If you keep like wearing him down and not allowing them to be a full 6, right?
Yeah, when you're capping something or when you're pushing payload, for example, a lot of times that's going to default to one of the tanks or one of the supports doing that, and then the rest can move forward. And it's really important that if you're going to sit multiple targets on the point, like 2 or 3 to kind of move it faster or to cap faster, that you don't split or you don't keep an entire category of your team there. For example, if both of the supports are sitting on the cart to move the payload and both the tanks and both the DPS are moving forward, they're just going to die because they don't have any way of healing. So it's really important to coordinate with your other healer, or if you watch one of the healers sit on point, then you didn't just leave. Even if you're not the primary healer, a lot of times I've been in a situation where we're running like, let's say you're running a Zen Moira, for example, and you're playing Zen. A lot of times I will tell the Moira to leave so I can cap the point or I can move the cart, and then she can go heal the team. Another situation could be that you've got, like Andres was saying, you got the Genji on the other side of the wall, you can't heal them, and there's no tanks for him to help heal. You need to have a tank for your Genji to help him get out, or you need a Lucio to help him, speed him to get him out, something like that. Those situations are really, really important on following up on that. And the other opportunity, and the last one here for following up, is just the simple one of running away, knowing your outs. Like, this is not a follow-up that I can bank out on, or maybe the follow-up gone wrong. The team went and followed up on something and they lost.
There are some things, and you should always use your judgment, that are not worth following up. Sometimes your teammates do make a mistake, and they go in too deep, right? There's always that Reinhardt that is very trigger happy with his charge and always ends up on the wrong side of the enemy team, and you're, a poor Mercy that could fly to him, but if you fly to him, the chances of you dying are about like 99%. Sometimes it's okay to let go, Sometimes your teammates don't have your best interest in mind.
Yeah. I think Andres said this one time in the last couple episodes, but it's bent on a good thing to do for a habit of following up on damage. When you're mentioning the cracked shields, when you're firing at a shield, a lot of the times it's really, really good to practice following up by aiming at people behind the shield, regardless if the shield is up or down, because if that Reinhardt drops shield to fire strike, or the team happens to break the shield at that exact moment that you're firing at it and it's gone, you can get a headshot or you can get a big damage source into one of the targets behind the shield. So don't just spam the shield to spam the shield. Don't hit the big square. Hit the stuff behind the square or hit the stuff behind the bubble that you can.
There's a really good tip that I learned a while ago that has landed me a lot of really cool kills. And you'd be surprised at how much significant damage you can put in when even through the shield you're shooting at the target, because you never know. You never know when he's gonna drop it. You never know when he's gonna break. You never know when he's gonna like 180 turn around and the shield is not gonna be covering that Ana's head anymore. Especially with hit scans, it's a really good habit to sort of build.
I love doing it on Hanzo, man. You storm arrows that shield and you're aiming at somebody and they drop it for a fire strike. That's just like insta kill. Like, just getting those storm sweet headshots behind there is good.
Either of those work pretty well.
Yep. All right. We are quickly approaching the end of the show here. So I am just going to wrap up by doing a couple bits of thank you. We had a great pop and chat today for a change. It was really nice to see a lot of you guys coming out. Really appreciate you guys coming in for the live show, especially on such short notice. Just want to thank those of you that are leaving iTunes reviews. I know that it's not been a lot lately, but we just really appreciate them. They help get us up in the iTunes search results. As an added reminder, we're also on Spotify. If you want to listen to us at work or you have Spotify in your mobile app, you can just send that link to your friends. And the special thanks to our new Patreon supporters this month. We have Tonka Truck going from regular to diamond this month after a few months and just said that he is like, it's about time I do this. And I was like, wow, that's such a great guy. Tonka Truck is also one of our medical professionals out there in the trenches with the COVID-19. So big ups to him. Thank you, not just for your support, but for your service. We really appreciate that. We also have a brand new diamond patron by the name of Many Faced God. So if you're looking for a new face of God, you can go talk to him or her. But yeah, they just subbed at this level. So please go hang out with them in the Discord. They're currently talking to people there. We also have Michael C, Derek H, SRF Gaming, and Zach P on the plat level. Thank you guys so much for just signing up for Patreon. Be sure to contact us. We're a little behind on some of the coaching sessions we've been getting. As you can see, we're getting kind of overloaded with this time, and Andres is still working from home, and I'm on the other end of the world, so it doesn't make anything easy. My schedule is kind of day to day still, so we're trying to figure that out. Please, if you can't get a hold of us and it's still hard, we understand. Just try. I think the best way to contact us is still Discord and Twitter. If you're sending us emails, you're sending us stuff on Patreon, we'll get to it eventually. But if you really want to take the next extra mile, sign up on there, get a Discord, shoot us a message. We'll get to you really quickly. That's kind of our number one way of getting back with you. And also our full list of top level sponsors. We've got Cypher, Shazir, Anagram Shepherd, Tonka Truck, and Many Face God. Thank you guys so much for supporting us. Please get in contact with Crispy in the Discord if you want some Twitch alerts for letting people know when you're live. We have a special thing for those roles. iPlay, why don't you let the people know at home where they can find you and they can find the show?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at iPlayGames. You spell that IPLAI Games. And you can also find me streaming on Twitch at twitch.tv/iPlayGamesTV. I've been doing quite a bit of Valorant that has consumed my life quite a bit, if I'm being honest. But I've been really enjoying the game. So if you want to catch me doing a little bit of that, I'll be there.
You can find anything and everything Omnic Lab. It's at the website, omniclab.com. If you want to find more links for our Twitch, YouTube merch, and Twitter feeds, you can find those on the website, as well as the Discord link at omniclab.com/links. If you want to find me, I'm at twitter.com/notrob and Instagram with the same tag. I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy XIV with some Australian friends, and we've been smashing that MMO, and it's been a lot of fun. But I think that's going to do it for us here at the lab. Remember, don't be a lab rat. Be a scientist. We will see you guys on the next week. Have fun and good luck with no more hero pulls. Woo woo.
I have nothing more to teach.